Yes, we're good. We are live. No outages here. Take that, Facebook, WhatsApp, and Insta. We're always connected. Hey,
Shadow
lads,
of your
how's it going?
former selves. Grand, not a bother. Busy day at work. Didn't think I was going to make it, but the sad thing is I've ran out of beer. I've drank it already, and I don't think I have nothing left in the fridge. So yeah, a bit of a shit fest. But anyway, all good.
Cancel the show.
That's it. Yeah, let's go off now. Look, there's 7 people watching. Let's crack on.
First things first, I think we have to say happy birthday, Pete.
Happy birthday, Pete.
Happy birthday, Pete. So yeah, we've given him the night off. He's probably appearing now in a few minutes, but we've given him the night off, and so
he's probably doing something on the sideline for True Faith. Like he double jobs for us. Do you know what I mean? So he's probably he's on another channel. He's not even having a birthday. Happy birthday, Pete, mate. Happy birthday, pal.
All the best, mate.
Yeah, we love you.
Other thing I wanted to say was
don't play the zebra.
I won't play the zebra. Don't worry. The amount people get trolls.
I've seen Twitter
I get zebraed.
The amount of people asking you to play it, there's something wrong with them. I don't know what's going on. That's just.
I think it's the vocals. It must be the vocals.
It has to be the vocals.
It's definitely not. Yeah.
Just before we bring our guests out, I just want to say, there's a survey. Did you see the survey, lads? That's gone out, and the results of the survey that came out. So this is it. Do you want Steve Bruce to stay on as NUFC manager? And in blue, no, and in yellow, no, but in yellow. So that's the results of the survey. Credit to Stu Penman there, or else he'll start giving out to me again. But let's get live line underway and bring out our first guest. So we've got someone making their debut today for Unloaded. Like a young Elliot Anderson. We'll bring him on, see how he does. We might take him off at halftime, but we'll give him a run out anyway.
A young Elliot Anderson, more like a young Gillian Anderson.
Make your own mind up. Here's Charlie.
Hello, boys. How's it going? I'm buzzing to be on. I've ironed one of my favourite tune shirts, especially for the show. I'd rather be on the podcast. I don't know where you are in the world. I know the Emerald Isle likes a little bit of rainfall. It's absolutely hoying cats and dogs down in Newcastle at the minute. So I'm happy to be on this podcast, boys.
It's actually not been too bad. A little bit of rain in Dublin earlier on, but it's been cold but nice and sunny. So yeah.
To be fair, it's always rain in Newcastle, isn't it?
I think somebody sent me a video. Somebody sent me a video of somewhere in the Tune today, and the street was flooded. The water was pissing into New Look.
Yeah, well, the metro stations are all flooded, so make it that way with it tying down. What about the weather in there, Liverpool, Chris? How's it going, mate?
Shocking. Yeah, it's been. Do you know what? It's been miserable all day. From about 10 o'clock this morning, it's been quite dark. It's just not nice.
Yeah. Well,
typical October weather, mate.
Can I just say, lads, the intro at the start of the podcast, you've got that little heart monitor going. That's not Steve Bruce's by any chance, is it?
No, I think you'll find that's our Premier League survival.
You're not wrong there, mate. You're not wrong there.
All right, thanks, Jerry. We're going to bring on Chipper as well. Chipper back for his second game for us. Welcome, Chipper.
Hola.
Great to have you back, mate.
Oh, no, it's good to be back.
Yeah.
Just having some.
Just so you know, 2 shows doesn't make you a regular, right? Just before you say it.
I'm not. I mean, I'm just going with the flow,
That's it, yeah.
You'll be part of the furniture soon, bro.
Yeah, that's it.
Also holding his spot from last week, we have Carl. Welcome, Carl. Welcome back.
Hello, mate.
All right, mate.
Cheers for the invite again.
No hassle.
No bother.
Great to have you on, mate.
Welcome. Right, we'll kick off. Charlie, we're going to go with you first. You get to set the tone for the first topic. Or maybe I should have told you about that. Yeah, pick the topic.
You're putting us on the spot, that's on you.
What would you like to talk about?
I'll tell you what we do, Daz, because what we were chatting about off screen. So Liam Kennedy has dropped me a text and asked me to do a little bit of a write-up for Newcastle World on Joelinton, right? That's going to hopefully be published, so I better keep it clean. So I'm going to do a little something that I've got to get to him tomorrow. But just to get us going, I'd like to get people's opinion. So the question is, what is the panel's thoughts on Joelinton? Is he on an upward trajectory at NUFC, or is he still far from not good enough? Or is he somewhere in between? So, Charlie, we'll start with you. Where's Joelinton out of the minute? Yeah, I am outsourcing, yeah.
First of all, I think it's... My honest opinion is he's just not good enough. I think if it were any other side, we'd be looking to improve. But because we haven't really got anyone to come in from, like... We're sort of snookered with him. We've got to play him. I was at the St James's Park against Leeds, and I genuinely thought he played poor. I thought he missed 2 big chances in the game. But then I was surprised to see the reaction on Twitter afterwards, saying that like a lot of people thought he played well and that he was the best player. Now I think in a way he's set the standards that low. It's not his fault. Don't get us wrong. It's not his fault that he came in for £40 million. The price tag isn't his fault. But regardless of that, he set the bar sort of so low that even if he has a sort of average, like subpar game, people say Joelinton played class. Whereas the reality is, you need a goal threat. If you're playing up front or out wide, you need to deliver some sort of goal threat for the team. Doesn't matter what team you're playing for. And I feel like when Joelinton's in the side, he never really gives with that. And I think he's more or less done it as a Newcastle player, to be honest. I don't know what you lads think.
Chips, what do you think?
Just not good enough for the Premier League and not good enough at all. It's just, you've got a player like Ryan Fraser sitting on the bench and not getting minutes, and he's stealing the living by playing 90 minutes week in, week out and offering nothing. He's built like a footballer should be, but he's just soft as cloth, and he doesn't create anything. People say, oh, he's playing well defensively. What's he in the team for? Defensive stuff. He's meant to be creating, bloody defending. I mean, as I've said,
I watched him a few times. Obviously, when we were rumored to be signing him, which it's a shame that it wasn't just a rumor. But I watched him a few times from clips and stuff on a couple of the games he played for Hoffenheim under Nagelsmann, and he looked to me when I first seen him. I went, "Holy shit! You know, this lad's got something." But that player just doesn't seem to have materialized at all. And I actually, when Liam Kennedy sent me the text, I actually watched a couple of clips again last night. And he does play out on that left and kind of comes inside and gives, as you were saying, Charlie, he does give that attacking threat into kind of pulling in towards the middle of the box. And he had pace and he had power and he'd some good finishes in the goals. Now, he wasn't a massively high goal scorer, 11, 12 a season. But I think I was watching it last night. I was just saying, well, I know, you know, we all joke about, well, it's not a joke anymore, but we always say, you know, sure that he's been bruised. And I just wonder, like, where did that player go? Because obviously he had enough in him in that Hoffenheim team for Nagelsmann to play him. And I would consider Julian Nagelsmann to be a very, very good coach, very astute. So for him to play him, he had to have something that Nagelsmann seen enough in him to put him into that Hoffenheim team. Because I'm sure looking at the benches and looking at a couple of the games from a couple of seasons back, he had a good squad. So I don't know, Carl, like, what's your view on him? Do you think, do we get a bum deal? Was it, you know, a good video of edits, or like, what did we get? Where's that player gone?
I would say you've got to question who scouted him, like, but who signed the deal off. But as you were saying there, obviously he looked half decent. So what would he be like under Bruce and our coaching staff, what's up there at the moment? What if there is a decent player in there and he just needs a decent coach day in, day out on the training pitch, put an arm around him and say, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. You know, I can't see the coaches up there in training and stuff like that, I can't see him getting any decent coaching whatsoever. But at the same time, you know, 40 million quid, fuck me. It's like,
you've got to think, just to sort of play devil's advocate a little bit. To be fair to Joelinton, Martin touched on him being Bruce to an effect. Now, we got rid of Rondon. Well, we didn't get rid of Rondon. We just didn't sign Rondon. And we played Joelinton for the first year to 18 months of his Newcastle career as a Rondon replacement. He was playing up front by himself as a sort of target man. And then we realised, like, in sort of deep into the second season, like, hold on a minute, he's not meant to be. And we signed him he was meant to be like a number 10 wide man from Hoffenheim. We played him up front by himself and gave him the number 9 shirt. You know what I mean? So I do think his form and his confidence has almost avalanched into a state where it is now, where he's just confidence is shot to bits. And I think it's probably best for all parties involved, for Newcastle and for Joelinton, if he was to find a new club.
And can you remember the game against Spurs? I think, was it the second or third game of the season?
Yeah. Spurs away, yeah.
The goal
just break it up
from a neat where I think it was a great touch and a great finish, and I think everyone was thinking, "Oh, hang on."
Yeah, he could be coming alive. Yeah, I mean, I remember that goal. That was a great ball in from Atsu, and it was a good team build-up as well to that goal, because there was a lot of passes that went into it before Atsu kind of clipped it in over the top of. I think it was Vertonghen. I think it dropped in over the top of. But Chris, like, what do you think? Like, we've chatted about Joelinton many times.
Yeah,
is there a player? Me personally, I think there's a player there. I just don't think. I don't think we're getting out of him what we should be getting out of him, and I think a lot of it is down to the coaching. And I know there'll be people who'll disagree and go. I can see Chip shaking his head. I think there's something there, but. 2 seasons in, you're kind of looking at it going, and I agree, it's kind of done, but I just wonder what he would have been like under a different coach in the right position without a 40 million price tag and without being thrown the number 9. I mean, he seems to be a bit more relaxed now that he hasn't got the 9 and he's not playing through the front since Wilson came, but I'm still not convinced he's a left-hand sided player. I don't know.
This is, do you know what, Mark? You're right. And all the lads, what they've said is absolutely right. Each and every one of them has made a good point. I mean, firstly, it's not Joelinton's fault that he come in for 40 million. Like, obviously, he didn't choose that price tag, and I'm sure he wouldn't have done. He was then given the number 9, which was a big mistake because, as we all know and we've all seen, he's not an out-and-out striker. You're absolutely right, Mark, when you say that we were looking at video coverage of Joelinton before he signed, and nearly every time I saw the video of Joelinton, he was breaking from deep. He wasn't that out-and-out number 9 striker.
Yeah.
And you're right in what you say, because the trouble is, I don't think we play to his strengths. There could be a player in there, as I think it was you that said it, Mark. He's got, in terms of being a footballer, he's got all the attributes. He's big, he's strong, he's not slow, but he's just not being coached correctly. Now, the bar has been set incredibly low for Joelinton because he made such a bad start to his Newcastle career. Can I see him coming back from that? I'm not sure. And the problem for Joelinton is that if we were to get taken over tomorrow, his name wouldn't even be mentioned. He'd be one of the first people out the door, and I don't even think they'd mind taking a cut on him. It's sad, really, because under the right manager, under the right system, playing for the right team, he probably would be a decent player. I mean, I think it was Steve Nixon who scouted him. Now, he's obviously seen something from Joelinton, and maybe they thought that they can change him into a number 9. I'm not sure, but whoever's done it has got it badly wrong. But you do wonder if he was, and I know this is probably being a bit over dramatic, but if he was being managed by, say, a Pep Guardiola, or even if he continued under Nagelsmann, maybe if he went to Bayern or something, maybe they would, you'd start to see a better player. But unfortunately, under Steve Bruce, he hasn't got a hope in hell. And I personally don't think he's got a future at Newcastle. Have his performances improved since when he first joined? Yeah. But as Chip said, is it good enough? No, because it's not. We're getting excited over, him doing a little bit more extra work. Or, I mean, I heard someone the other day, it was funny, saying that he got the assist for Maxi, when Maxi took on all those players and buried it. It's like we're making excuses for him, aren't we? I mean, he literally bowled the ball to him. But I don't like, and we all want to defend him, don't we? We all want to defend. No one likes to slag a Newcastle player off. While he's playing in the black and white, we'll all get behind him. But it is frustrating. And I agree with what you're all saying. I don't think we've seen the best of him. But do I think his best is good enough? Probably not.
How much do you think we'd get from lads if we were to sell him on? Because I think we'd be lucky to get 15 million from him. I don't even think...
10.
Yeah, I'd say maybe 8, 10 at the max. I think will be a push.
Do we think
If
he
you
went
look
for 40? Do we believe that he's gone for 40?
Well, that's what I say.
Probably.
I try and lie to myself and say that we paid 40 million for Aaron Saint-Maximin and 16 million for Joelinton. It doesn't sting as much.
No, it's right.
Yeah,
one thing I'll say is
kinda...
Joelinton. Sorry.
No. If you look at the... say I find that money mad, like, but
yeah, if you look at the games in the past recently, who have we played that people are saying he's playing well against? We've played against Leeds, who had one fit defender who played a makeshift defence. Watford, who are favourites to go down. And Wolves, who had only won their first game last week. I mean, apart from like Man United, our fixtures have been so kind to us this season. We haven't really played against the better sides, if you know what I mean. And well, everyone seems better than us at the minute, but if you get what I'm saying.
When December comes crawling around, I mean, to be fair though, Newcastle, we showed last season, we played against Man City. We played against. We didn't get a point against Man City, but we put in a good showing. When Liverpool came to St James's Park, we put in a good showing. But yeah, against these teams at the start of this season, in and around that, we should be getting points off. Should be trying to get the 3 points off. We've just looked totally lacklustre, haven't we?
Apart from Man United and Leeds, we won all of our games last season that we played them. We've lost them all this season. Well, Wolves were drew. We beat Southampton. We beat West Ham. We beat West Ham, we beat Southampton, drew with Wolves, so there's 7 points there we've only got. But how many points out of them this season? 3 or 2?
We're probably going to have to go and get down. We are literally going to have to go and get results against the bigger sides, which we very rarely do. And
miracles,
ratings on the wall for me. Like
my take on Joelinton is pretty much the same as everybody else. If we had signed him this season as a kind of left forward for say 7.5 million, you'd be thinking, okay, maybe there's something of a player there. But we are a bit sick of him, and he was never a number 9. And the 40 million price tag, it clouds our judgment. And there are some signs of improvement, but not enough to warrant a starting role at times. But he seems to get playing most of the time. But so that's enough for you, Mark.
Yeah, do you know what as well, Mars? I just wanted to add, and it'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this, and maybe this could be on your piece, Mars. But I was talking to my mate about Joelinton a couple of weeks ago, and I was saying, because he was asking me about him and saying, like, what's he like as a player? He seems to have improved. People are saying that he's getting better. But I said to him, one thing that sticks out for me about Joelinton is you can't say he's got one quality that he's really good at, or a specific thing that he does which nobody else can do, or that he's got a particular strength at. You know, the way you'd say with Maximin, his dribbling's amazing. You'd say about Fraser, he's got that connection with Wilson, and he can take a man on and whip a ball in. You might say about Miggy, he runs tirelessly, doesn't stop, gives his all. Manquillo, good defensively, going forward, not as great. But with Joelinton, can you think of one thing where you go, Joe's fantastic at that, and when he's off the team, we miss it? Because I can't.
Best hairstyle.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
No, look, I think you're right, and I think I think look, it's hard, and I get the whole piece of a lad coming from a German league, high price tag, relocating, all of that, but I agree with the lads. There is only so long you can wait, and I think when I look at it. You look at him, and I've said this when we've done the match day lives on Matters, like he gets so easily knocked off the ball, and I'm waiting for that one match where he actually sticks a foot in, or he gives somebody a nudge back, and I don't know whether he's just afraid to actually put himself about, because certainly from the looks of him, when he's up against some of the defenses, like he's not 4 foot nothing. He's fairly stacked.
He's a big lad.
He's a big guy, and we've the amount of match days we did during the COVID period, and you'd see him get knocked off the ball, and the three of us would be screaming at the TV, going, "Jesus Christ, get yourself stuck in, put the boot in, like at least even take a bloody yellow card and for a shitty tackle." There's one, but you just kind of you're waiting for a spark, and I think 2 seasons on, I like the kid, but I think his time is done, unfortunately. But yeah, Yeah, it'd be interesting now. Obviously, and when
do
I
you know
when I
do
do
you know
that
if they got
piece
the
this
takeover
week,
tomorrow?
Obviously I'll not be crediting anyone, just so you know.
Martin,
I think if you
Martin,
have to look,
one last thing.
Yeah.
I'm saying if they got the takeover done tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised at the end of the season if they paid his contract up and said, "See you later."
Yeah,
I literally wouldn't be surprised. Just get him on the books.
I think,
wouldn't
to be fair,
surprised.
Carl, there's probably a few players like that. Do you know what I mean? And if you go back and look at that team again, you know, barring a couple of reinforcements, it's still 65 to 70% the team that came up from the championship. Still
I think one person you have to draw comparisons with Joelinton is Werner at Chelsea, because he's come from a German league. This is his second season now, and you've got to think if he doesn't produce this season, Chelsea are just going to get rid of him.
Chelsea will ditch.
I mean,
but again, absolutely.
You know,
Chips. I mean, that's a good point. He didn't produce at all last season. Looked very out of place, very weak, very similar. Got knocked off the ball, played centrally, got knocked off the ball, played out wide left. Now, seems to be coming into his own a little bit now that he's got Lukaku there to take that pressure off him, and he's playing more kind of wide left for Chelsea. He's got Havertz kind of coming in behind. But again, you know, to take your point, there's a big, massive difference there in that when Havertz is playing on that left, when he's playing on that left, he's got a rake of decent defense behind him, and he's got a midfield that can tackle. You know, when Joelinton plays on that left,
he's got Matt Ritchie.
Defensively, he's got Matt Ritchie. So when he does get caught out, you don't have that comfort of going, oh, well, that's all right, we'll be able to defend, because you're then looking at, you know, a player streaking towards Matt Ritchie going, oh, Jesus, fuck, here we go. You know?
The frustrating thing about it is, lads, is that whether it was Lee Charnley or however, somebody at the clubs had to absolutely bend Mike Ashley's arm backwards to persuade him to part with 40 million quid for Joelinton. And the other time he sort of backed with was under Steve McClaren. I think he gives Steve McClaren 80 million quid or something to spend.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Both times Mike Ashley, in his time as a Newcastle chairman, that he's put his hand in his pocket and backed with it, it's backfired. And he's probably sitting there thinking, why should I back Newcastle if, like, every time I put my hand in my pocket, it doesn't work out.
Yeah. One more time, and to get rid of Bruce. That's where I want to see him put his hand in his pocket now. Taking us nice. Yeah, exactly. Something like that. Taking us nicely into Chipper, because Chipper, I have a feeling I know what you're going to talk about.
Oh, the cabbage, the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend, our fantastic manager who's doing a fantastic job. You know, who's literally, you know, how gets the sayings off people that it's not all bad when you support Newcastle. The one, the only, Mr. Bruce. What on earth did he come out with on Friday yet again before the match? We've just discussed Joelinton, and he said, his favourite position was left wing. 2.5 years later, he's started playing him there. 2.5 years. I mean, I was just said about Joelinton, but that, I mean, for me, it's more about playing players out of position as opposed to who it is. Again, Matt Ritchie played at left back, not left back. Isaac Hayden went from centre midfield to centre back, then to right back. Then you had Almiron still in centre midfield. ASM as a striker when he isn't a striker, and you brought a striker in for only 13 minutes of a match when you've been trailing for at least half an hour. I mean, come on. I mean, I saw a stat today. We've got one fit striker, Dwight Gayle. Since Wilson's injury, we've played 450 minutes plus of football, and he's only played 20 minutes. 20 minutes out of 450 is our only fit striker. And Bruce goes on about, I don't play players out of position. That proves quite conclusively you do, sunshine.
But I think Bruce's comment was good in that, you know, Dwight Gayle's not getting the game time because, you know, he doesn't really fit the system that Bruce is playing. And I was reading that and I was kind of going, like, what is the system you're playing? Because we don't even know what the system is when you're lining up for the game 2 minutes beforehand. So I agree with you. I mean, you know, outside of Wilson, for me, Dwight Gayle is the most natural goal scorer and predator that we have. Probably predator is the wrong word. I don't mean that in the wrong way. Not in an Adam Johnson kind of way, allegedly. But he's the most naturally gifted goal scorer we've got. That, you know, the 2 goals against Norwich, I thought his second goal against Norwich was absolutely mint. But obviously, there's something there. For me, there's something there that has, albeit he got another contract, and I think that was purely down to the sell on and, you know, trying to get him probably sold on. But for me, that was a good piece of business. And I remember talking about this at the start of the season, people going, I wouldn't give him another contract. I think we did a show on it, Daz, about who would you keep, who wouldn't you keep.
We did, yeah.
And, you know, Dwight Gayle, there was a lot of people going, no, I wouldn't keep Dwight Gayle, get rid of him. But I can understand the club doing a bit of business to keep a hold of him, and I think it was the right business to do. But if you are then going to do that, fucking play him. Like, when you haven't got Wilson there and you're 2-0 down with 30 minutes to go, like, fuck me, throw him on, take a chance, take a punt, because he could get you a goal, a nick at the near post. Because what he has got is he's got the right runs, he knows when to move, he knows how to move, and he knows how to get into position to finish those chances. And I think one of the biggest things in the last 3 games we've been massively, massively missing is somebody at the end of the chances. Because against I don't think it was Wolves, the game prior to that, against Leeds, Watford, we created 20-odd chances. That's the most I've seen us create in I don't know how long. And I think if we'd had a Wilson or we'd have put Gayle on, I think we would have finished those chances, certainly 1 or 2 of them, and I think we would have taken 3 points from that game.
I would have said the same against Leeds. Did you say Watford there, Martin? I think
I said Watford. I did say Leeds as well, Charlie.
I think Leeds was a similar story, mate. I mean, Dwight Gayle didn't even get off the bench at all against Leeds. Now, this all goes back to the thing is, Bruce can bemoan injuries all he wants, but this goes back to pre-season. Liam Kennedy asked Steve Bruce in pre-season, Steve, are you going to sign another striker this window? Because he was talking about making sure Callum Wilson was wrapped up in cotton wool, yada, yada, yada. And then Steve Bruce went, no, we've got more than enough cover in that department, and started naming players like Ryan Fraser and Miggy Almiron and players who weren't strikers.
Freddie Woodman. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. Carl, what's your view on Gayle? Should he be getting in? Like, you know, is there something there between? I personally think there's some stuff still lagging from last season, and in a couple of the camp fallouts. I think that Dwight Gayle was heavily involved in some of that, and I think that's the reason why Bruce doesn't play him. That's my feel on it. But
I think he got the new deal just because they know that there's always going to be a championship side sniffing around. Who, if you get to January and you're in there or thereabouts, playoffs, or you know at the top end of the championship, you're going to take a punt on him because he's going to get goals in that division. We might as well fucking keep him for next season. You know what I mean? It's
good point.
But I think that's all it's been about, is just protecting that transfer fee. They know they can get about 10, 12 million maybe for him. They're not willing to let that go, are they? So, but whether or not, I said last week to you guys, I would have started him against Wolves. I would have switched Maximum to the left wing and put Gayle up front.
Don't get us wrong. I do think there's questions to be asked of Gayle at Premier League level, but I mean, he's like all we have right now. Like, he's literally, when Wilson gets injured, he is our only player, like, who can play up front as a striker, through the middle, number 9, who can get a goal. So to not even use him properly, like, especially when we're crying out for
finisher,
we're creating. I think it's deliberate. I think it's deliberate. I think it's at the stage now with Bruce that I think it's deliberate. Personal, I think, but I also think he's doing it to a point where just get me out this fucking club. I'm not walking, but I want my money. Sort of thing.
The thing is, as well, Bruce is saying every week we're creating chances and we're missing them. Yes, you've got a striker sitting on the bench who doesn't get on, who will possibly get on the end of these chances. Now, you can't have your cake and eat it. You've got to, if you're creating chances, you've got to have a natural striker on the end of them, because that's what strikers are paid to do, put the ball in the back of the net. ASM won't do it because he's the creator, so you playing him up front on his own is pointless. Playing Joelinton up front on his own when he isn't a striker is pointless because he offers nothing. You might as well have a Trotter Fire guard up front because he offers nothing. I mean, and like I said, you've got Ryan Fraser sitting on the bench who's just a creative player like Almiron, but you've obviously got Almiron wasted as a centre midfielder, and you've got Fraser not being used for some apparent reason why he doesn't use him for either when he's actually fit. Well, probably the first time since he's been here. But yeah, like I said,
do you think, lads, do you think, lads, the way I remember the Chronicles poll back in March said Eddie Howe topped the list of who the Toon fans want to get in. If Eddie Howe did come in, do you reckon you could get the best out of Ryan Fraser? Because we haven't seen much of him so far. And obviously they had that Bournemouth connection. Do you reckon Eddie Howe could get the best out of Fraser? Or?
I think he'd get the best out of a few players, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think he's way more tactically astute. I know there's a thing floating around on YouTube. I think off one of the Soccer Saturdays or something, and he does an interview and he talks about, I think when Bournemouth played Liverpool.
Is that with the discs?
He's got the discs and he talks about the tactics. And I listened to that, and then you listen to Bruce, with the and you're just kind of at the minute you take anybody, I mean, there's talks of like, Chris Wilder being, wants to have a stab at it. I'd fucking take him, to be honest.
Yeah,
and I know people say, well, Sheffield United went down, but I think that was second season syndrome and everything else. I genuinely think Chris Wilder's a decent coach. If it was a choice between the two, I'd take Eddie Howe all day long over what we've got now. And I think, again, we spoke about it on some of our shows. I don't get when you've got two players that came from a club at the end of a season that have such a connection, why you don't play them together. Because it's like putting your team together on FIFA. When you're putting your best 11 together, and you're getting
link bars.
You're getting the connection line that your players are linking together. So you're trying to bring in the right players. So for me, I don't understand why you would have a player like Fraser that knows exactly where Wilson wants a ball and how to put it in, and you leave him on the bench and then play Joelinton on the left.
Just on that, linking back to Charlie's question, I know Fraser fell out with Bournemouth and stopped playing towards the end of his career there, but I think if Eddie Howe came in, I don't think he'd do a Bruce and have a grudge against him. I think he'd just get over it and get on with it. If it's going to improve the team, he would. I think
that was cleared up a while ago, Daz. I think I can't remember. It was sometime last. It was when he signed for Newcastle. He sort of said that he didn't have a problem with Eddie Howe. It was more with Bournemouth.
Oh, with the club.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, just going back to Martin saying, would you take Chris Wilder? I'd probably take Deontay Wilder at this rate over Steve.
Do you really think
what?
That Eddie Howe would come in though? Because I'm just thinking back to when Bruce came in, and what was he, 5th, 6th, 7th choice?
I think at this stage,
how many managers not
come in?
Do you think?
Because he hasn't gone, and that's the weird thing for me. Nobody, not even in the Championship, nobody's gone for Eddie Howe.
Well,
Celtic tried to.
Why didn't the Celtic deal happen?
People say he bottled it. I'm not sure he did bottle it.
At Celtic.
What they sort of do hint on at is that he loves his life down south. He's sort of like he loves it on the south coast. I don't know how true that is, but he went up to Burnley for a short period. Didn't really enjoy his time there. Then went back down to Bournemouth. So they reckon something to do with Scotland, far away from his family. That might have been a bit of a sticking point for him. So obviously Newcastle's as far away as possible in terms of England.
Yeah, I don't know. Hard to know.
I just think Graham Jones. I think Graham Jones might get the job.
I think he will on a temporary basis.
I think he'll get it on a temporary basis.
Yeah.
But also the fans, I think it'll work with the fans as well, because the fans will get right behind him as well, with him being from Gateshead, and it'll galvanise everyone.
He didn't do too well at Luton, no call, as when he was given the role the role as a number one.
Yeah, I know, I totally get that, but I just think everything's flat as fuck in it. Literally everything is flat as fuck at the minute. The fans are on their arse, everyone's just had enough. I think if he gets a sack in the point of Jones, because I don't see them bringing anyone in. I don't think anyone would want it. I think if Jones got the job, I think the fans would really, really get behind him, and it might be just enough. It might not be enough to get over the line safe, but it might be enough.
Just one thing while we're on the Bruce topic, I had to put a little graphic together as well on this. Just look at that win percentage of all the clubs that he's been at. The lowest is now Newcastle at 29.2. Even Sunderland, he was 29.6. So that's as bad as it gets. And all these clubs above he wasn't sacked from all of them. He moved on or whatever, but most of them he would have been sacked from. And they have a higher percentage ratio. And us, 29.2 in an international break with potential takeover in the balance. Now is the time to sack him. Why wait?
Yeah.
Why gamble?
From what I've heard, Daz, with injuries at the minute, apparently he's sort of bought a little bit more time by persuading, Lee Charnley and co. that once he gets Wilson back, once he gets Shelby back, once he gets Lascelles back, things might improve a little bit. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that. Like
Dubravka as well.
Sorry, what did you say? Was it called?
Getting Dubravka back as well as he used that as well.
Yeah. Apparently, he's sort of, from what I've heard, he's sort of sold this idea that once we've got a fully fit squad, sort of like the back end of last season when we got the players back and we went on a good little run, he's banking that's going to happen again to sort of save his job.
The luck will come back.
This is the problem, though, Charlie. This is the problem, and he's probably right. Things probably will improve, but the trouble is, between now and December, we need to rack up as many points as we can, because we all know in December we'll be lucky to get a point. I think we've got 6 games, and it consists of like Everton, Liverpool, City, Man United, I forget, Leicester, and somebody else.
All of them.
You think we're not picking up more than a point there, and if we do it, it'll be an absolute miracle. And if we go on a bad run between now and December, and then we go through to December, we could end up in January on single points. And if we are, as I said yesterday, we're going to end up getting cut adrift. And as soon as you get cut adrift, that's where we're going to have a problem.
Well, if you look, No, go on, Cole.
Last season we went.
Chips. Sorry,
yeah.
Chips.
Last season we went 21 games without a win. Who's to say we're not going to start that at the start of the season this year? We're going to go the first 20 games without a win, because it's very possible under this manager that run could happen.
If you look at the history of Mike Ashley's sort of time as Newcastle, in charge of Newcastle, he's always left it too late when he comes to managers. I mean, Joe Kinnear, he wasn't even going to get rid of him. He had to have a heart attack before he replaced him. Steve McLaren, he left it far too late. Rafa Benitez Rafa were unbeaten in the final 6 games of the season and we still went down. So I genuinely think he's banking on Steve Bruce turning it around, and I think he'll only get rid of him once it's far too late.
He's clearly not going to walk.
Taking a big risk, Charlie. Oh, sorry, Carl, go on, mate.
I'm saying he's clearly not going to walk away. He's adamant that he's not going to walk.
No,
so
he won't.
And it's very, very rare for any manager to walk away from a club unless they've got something else, lined up to go to another club.
But I think that's the massive reason, Carl, why he won't walk, because this is the last ever job he's going to have.
Yeah.
Nobody else is going to take him on anywhere.
Do you not think we'll see him? Do you not think we'll see him in the Championship once he's gone?
No, I think this is his last gig, and I think he knows that. And I think there's enough people. There's enough people seeing him, even though he's got his pals on TalkSport and the rest of them. Like, I mean, BBC listening to Danny Murphy. I mean, nothing other than a class clown. But
I think he's doing all right.
Yeah, God, I listened to that. I was like, "Fuck off." But I think Brucey knows this is the last gig. But again, I read something there today about like the thing where he turfed the people out from the rented house he owns in Cheshire because they complain about mold on the wall. So this is a guy that is a twice over multi-millionaire. So when he's doing that kind of thing, do you know what I mean? I'd say there's mold in the changing rooms at this state with him. There's certainly mold in his brain.
On that note, I think Carl,
terrible manager, terrible landlord.
Terrible, yeah, exactly, yeah. Bruce out, rental properties out.
I literally have Private Pile off Full Metal Jacket as opposed to him as manager.
Thanks, Jimmy.
I would have him stand there going, "This is my rifle," and that, like, I would gladly have that over Steve Bruce going, "Well,
To be honest, do you reckon he would be a good listen to? Obviously, you wouldn't get much insight out of him, but say if we did sack him and he went on to become like a pundit, I don't know. Do you know like Alan Brazil on TalkSport? How Alan Brazil on TalkSport, he never watches the games. but he's sort of a good listen. He banters with people. Do you reckon Steve Bruce could be like that? And then because everyone seems to say he's got good crack and he's like, he's a bit of a funny guy. Do you reckon he would be all right on there?
Fantastic man manager, Charlie. Fantastic man manager.
He's got. I could imagine him being a bit of a dinosaur. To be fair,
I bet you, and I think he probably takes it from his Man United days. I'd say with the players, the ones that he likes, I'd say he's probably okay. He's probably a decent enough fella.
You wouldn't mind having a beer with Steve Bruce, would you? Really?
I'd say he's got some cracking stories, and if you're Shelby and players like that, and we've spoken about this loads of times. I'd say the training regime is really easy. I wouldn't say you massively have to work your ass off to get into the team for Bruce. I'd say it's dead. If anything, it's probably very, very laid back. And I think that's probably why you'll find the likes of, that's been said prior. That's why the likes of Shelby, like Steve Bruce, because he's not pressurized into training properly. We know that the training regime is crap. We know that we've got injuries down to the lack of attention and everything he does. But that's what you get with him. And I think that thing, Daz, you put up there, 1,000 games, and out of 1,000, he's only ever won 300. Holy shit balls. 300 games.
Oh, do you know what made me laugh as well, which I didn't realise?
Mental.
Look at the period he was at Palace. We keep constantly hearing Simon Jordan saying how fantastic of a manager he is. He's only managed 18 games under him.
Yeah,
he did win 11 though.
That's what I mean. He's got a fantastic win ratio. No wonder Simon Jordan's halfway
that
up
was
his arse.
That was a blip, Chris. That was a blip.
You've got to think, lads.
He went to Birmingham City. He left Palace early, I think.
He bailed them, didn't he? Yeah, he did. He did.
You've got to think.
Look at our record with Sunderland. It's identical. Our record with Sunderland and Sunderland's is identical. It's literally paramount.
Yeah, you've got to think as well, boys. Some of them teams on there are sort of bulked up a bit by being in the Championship. I mean, I'm looking at Villa.
Yeah, Birmingham.
His first job at Sheffield United, Birmingham. They were all in the second division. Know what I mean?
Yeah. And Hull, he had in the Championship for a couple of seasons as well. Yeah. So it's not exactly reflective.
So according to that, boys, we've got one defeat to look forward to and one. Are we getting a win? Yeah, it looks like we'll get a win if we're following the Sunderland theory. One win, one loss.
Two.
Yeah, you don't get cabbages thrown at you for no reason, do you?
Just the process is all isn't it?
Hey, we should have done that for the NUFC process, shouldn't we? We should have told them. Jib the paper airplanes, just get the cabbages on. Get them on.
It's probably on the list. Carl, did we get to your topic yet, or have we covered it already?
You've probably covered it, to be fair.
Cool. There was a question from Seb here earlier, who was on the show with us last week. Let me just get it here. Yes, I know my answer. Do you think Brighton and Brentford are better than us? Yes, definitely yes.
100%.
Is the Pope Catholic? Yeah. Is he Catholic? Because that's the answer.
Yeah. Everybody's better than us, apart from Norwich, maybe. But that's debatable.
Hey, do you know what, lads? I got laughed at. I got laughed at for mentioning Graham Potter as a potential manager.
Yeah. I would take him.
Look what he's doing with Brighton now. Look what he's doing with them.
Yeah.
It was evident last season. You could see it coming. You could see it coming last season. As soon as they started converting those chances into goals, look where they are.
If they had won last week, they would have mental.
Yeah, and that's why Brentford will stay up as well. Thomas Franks is a great manager.
Yeah.
And he's got goals in that team. He's got a strong, solid midfield.
They're not scared.
What we would do for Ivan Toney in our team now, boys? Imagine with us with Ivan Toney.
Mate.
Honestly.
But if you think is though, right, if we hadn't let him go, would he be where he is now?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Still sitting on our bench.
Probably not, so but I think someone like he was probably always going to become a player in a way. But it was horses for courses for us, wasn't it? We couldn't give him game time in the Championship, and we had to sign a recognised striker like Dwight Gayle, didn't we?
Same as Armstrong, isn't it?
Yeah.
Armstrong looks great for Southampton now, doesn't he?
He's only scored one goal, has he? That's the only thing. He scored one goal in 7.
He did look absolutely great against us, I thought, when he came up here.
Well, it's not hard to look good to get bad against us, though, is it?
True, yeah. But so you're on about Graham Potter there. Came up the 2 games we played against them last season, home and away. They looked like they had about 14, 15 players compared to us.
Yeah.
Literally, like home and away.
Exactly.
Lamptey was class in both those games.
Exactly, and we called that as like the week before the match. We said if we don't set up right, Lamptey is going to tear us a new one, and we could see that. And even during the game, we were getting terrorized by him. And Bruce
3 minutes in.
3 minutes in, exactly, and we end up like we were played off the park that day.
And he's back
home and away.
He's back from injury now, and he can't even get into the Brighton squad.
Yeah, we should see, can we loan him in January?
Can I just throw a little talking point in, boys? I know Chris and Pete on Steve's show last night were touching on a little bit. I went down to Wolves on the weekend, and I've been in the 2-0 end before when we've been battered off Liverpool, battered off Man United. But even at 0-0 against Wolves the other day, it was silent. Now, really? I don't know if anyone in the comments was at the game the other day, but it was the poorest away end that I've seen as a Newcastle fan. Normally the away days are bouncing, everyone's up for it, singing from start to finish, and it was just flat. It was almost like apathetic. It was. I was standing there almost ashamed in a way to be a Toon fan because of how quiet. The full away end was sold out. We had the full bottom stand, but there was just no buzz at all.
Charlie, what was it like when we went 1-0 down?
When we went 1-0 down, again, it wasn't even.
Did it go toxic or
when I was at the Leeds game, and when we went 1-0 down, everybody was shouting, "We want Brucey out! We want Brucey out!" But at the Wolves game, there was nothing. It was just we were so bad. We were so bad. I actually missed Hendrick's goal because I went to the bar.
Actually, do you know what? I didn't even mention this. I don't want to jump on his back or anything, but did you notice? I saw the highlights and I saw Hendrick's goal. Fucking hell, he done his best to try and miss it, didn't he? He hit it by the goalie, and then it went in off the post. And I was thinking, you got a free goal.
But you see, the thing with that Hendrick goal is that obviously every time he scores, we get a bank holiday over here in Ireland. So me and Daz have got another one to look forward to now before Christmas. So we got one last year because of now we've got another one.
The thing is, though, as fans, it's just the inevitability now of they're going to score first. We're not going to score first. It's just and then when they score first, there's no shock or surprise about it. It's like, well, we've expected this. It's like every game now I expect. It's more of a case of how much we're going to get beat by as opposed to how much we're going to win by, or if we're going to win, or it's more a case of, like on Saturday I went to work and I was like, oh, well, we'll get beat off Wolves. I'm not bothered with being at work, which is rare. I mean, and I came in from work and I was like, I expected we would get beat, so we got beat. It's like the inevitabilities hit me now.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I said to you lads on Saturday. I didn't watch any football. Didn't watch any football Saturday. Didn't watch a score. Didn't watch a stream. Didn't watch match of the day. Watched a couple of bits Sunday morning. Didn't watch the goals. Daz texted and went, "Oh, Darlow, duplicate goals." I just went, "Oh, bollocks! I'm not watching that." I just went out and drank Guinness and got drunk. But just to Charlie's point, I obviously prior to moving to Ireland, I went to a lot of the away games, and I think one of the things for me, and it was talked about. I don't know if it was a Matter show, but it was definitely talked about. Might have been when we were talking to Alex Hurst, when we had Alex Hurst on. And he made a very good point that the away day, the lads that now go or used to go to the away days, the proper lads that used to fulfill the terraces are no longer there. And in particular, even in the Gallagher end, a lot of the lads that used to go to the games, that era of, what I would call proper away day, it would be the same lads and lasses on the bus. And, you'd be in the same pubs drinking. You'd know where your stops were. You'd meet up in Barnsley or you'd be meeting down in Swindon. All those kind of games that I went to when Keegan first took back over and all that kind of stuff. And I think Alex made the point just saying, he's been to a good few of the games, home and away. And that same level of terrace life, I suppose, for want of a better word, that level, those lads are just not there no more. So do you think that maybe the apathy and stuff that we're seeing, do you think, Charlie, that demographic of people who are going to the away games and that now has changed?
Potentially, mate. I think obviously back then you said like when Keegan first took over. I mean, it was I was born in '97, so it was before my time. But like from what I understand, it was
Thanks
just
for making us feel old, there, pal. Yeah,
mate, I thought I found a grey hair in the bath the other day, so I'm getting on a bit myself.
Jesus, wait till you get to my age, mate. You need a new bathroom.
But no, Martin. Obviously, like during the '90s, early 2000, it was just from what I understand, it was just a sea of just optimism. The whole city was bouncing. Everybody wanted a bit of Newcastle United. It was just like a mint. Just everywhere was it was class. From what I hear. Now, the earliest I can remember watching the tune was sort of like UEFA Cup, where Shearer's back end. But even then, I felt like going to the match and that there was a good buzz. I had a season ticket for a few years. I had a season ticket when Pardew was there and I finished 5th, and there was a good buzz there. Like even away games, bouncing, absolutely bouncing. But I don't know, just for whatever reason, Wolves the other day, it was just almost like a soulless. The whole journey there, the coach was bouncing. The whole journey back was bouncing, but inside the ground when the game was on, it was just soulless. Now, it might be a demographic thing. I think it probably is a number of factors, and that being a main one. Maybe in the next couple of years when they see safe standing back in the stadium, we might get that demographic back. But for now, I just think it's what we're seeing on the pitch.
Yeah. Okay.
Everyone's just been worn down by the whole thing. 14, 15 years of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think to be fair, Daz, like, I mean, I can remember going to games. I can remember going to Chelsea away and the old shed end in what was Chelsea's ground before it got redeveloped. I remember getting battered down there 4-0. I think David Speedy and Kerry Dixon scored. Kerry Dixon scored twice. Pat Nevin scored and David Speedy scored. We got battered 4-0 in the FA Cup. And I can remember we were literally just on the coach coming out of West London and all the windows got bricked in. And we drove. The bus took us home all the way back up to Newcastle with the windows fucking smashed. It was freezing going home. But I can remember we stopped off at Woodall or somewhere. As we took off again, lads were coming round the bus going, anybody want an AA map? Anybody want a box of chocolates and stuff for their lass? And the fucking Woodall had been robbed to bits. And the back seat of the bus was filled with everything from porno mags to chocolates to AA road maps, foot pumps and everything else. Because people were diving in and out. There's like bottles of Heinz ketchup and stuff on the back seat of the bus. And you go home with your pockets full. I'm not advocating that you should rob Woodall services, far from it. But allegedly, yeah.
Allegedly.
I just don't. To me, and listen, I've been to a few home games since I've been back in Ireland, since I moved to Ireland, and I haven't been to an away game, so it's hard for me to call it. But I just don't imagine, from what I'm seeing now, that there's that same level of crack that there was, and maybe there is, as you said, the buses going up and down was always good, full of drink and stopping off here, there, and everywhere. But it's kind of worrying when you think that buzz dies off as soon as you walk in the stadium, and it's sad,
do you know what, Mark?
To think that we're not really where we were.
You know what, mate? I think you make a really good point, and I think it comes back to the word hope. And I think you mentioned then about us getting beat 4-0, and this is the thing: if we got this takeover, I wouldn't care if we got beat 2-3, 4-5, 6-0. Genuinely wouldn't care, because we've all got hope and we all know that we're on a path to somewhere better. But at the moment, if we get beat 2-3, 4-0, we know things aren't going to get any better. We've kind of like hit a brick wall. And this is the problem. This is what is turning fans off and why fans have turned away, because they're just fed up of it. Because even if we go and win, let's say we go and beat Tottenham 3-0. We're all going to be excited. We're all going to be buzzing, aren't we? But ultimately, we're still under Ashley. We're still going nowhere. And all right, we've got an extra 3 points on the board. And the idea is to get to 40 as soon as possible, because we're all thinking about this takeover. But if this takeover fell through tomorrow and you said, oh, yeah, well, Ashley, if someone, I don't know, say a genie come over and went, Ashley's going to be here in the next 5 years, I can guarantee you a lot of people would just switch off and go, right, well, I'm done then. I'm done. Because I think everyone's just fed up of feeling this way. And even if you got in new owners and, they weren't even worth that much money, but they said, listen, we're going to try, we're going to compete, we're going to invest every pound we've got into the club, and we want to improve and we want to get better, people would be on board with that. They really would. But at the moment, under Ashley could be worth 100 billion. It doesn't make a difference. It's like when we talk about player sales and stuff. If we got 10 million for Dwight Gayle, we'd all be going, oh, 10 million, it's a good little bit of business, that. We'd probably see about 1 million of it. And the other 9 million are just fluttered away. Yeah. Because it's not part of the club, is it? It's all down to Ashley, and this is the problem.
We're still waiting on the first Andy Carroll money.
Where's the Andy Carroll money?
Yeah.
I think if the takeover doesn't happen, probably this will be me done. I'll wrap my ticket in. I'm done.
This will be the last straw, Carl.
Yeah, it'll be interesting now because there's a little run coming up now. If we don't get anything out of the next 3 or 4, and then all of a sudden November is upon us, and then we've got that horrendous December. It'll be interesting to see how many people then start. Will that influence people staying away? If the cat decision doesn't go, and then arbitration we're waiting for January 3rd. I tell you what, that Christmas could be very, very tricky at that point if we've not picked up. I would say if we've not picked up 3 or 4, certainly 4 to 5 wins over the next, 2 months, and we get to December without having any more on the board or only picking up a point here and there,
we're in trouble, mate.
Yeah, massively, massively by then.
The thing I'm worried about now is, right, Southampton are a point above us, already out the bottom 3 now. You might think that's nothing, but a team that hasn't won a game all season, a point's a lot, considering we can't win a game. I mean, all it takes is for them to win a game, and then there's 4 points, and even a draw, 5 points. Things like that, it's psychologically, and if every time I look at it now is if they start winning, if they win a game and we lose one, it's going to be a bigger bridge to get. Even if Wilson comes back and De Grabka comes back, we could already be adrift before to make the gap up. It's little things like that. Even when drawn games isn't enough, you've got to win, and if you can't win, like Steve Bruce come up the other day and say, well, I'm a manager, it's difficult to win games of football. If you're a manager, come out and say that, you shouldn't be a manager anymore, because you should be going out there confident you're going to win games of football, and he's not confident of doing that.
Just to add there, Chippers, so the 4th of December, we've got Burnley at home. Then we've got Leicester away.
Won't win.
Liverpool away.
Lose.
Hammered.
City at home.
Lose.
Man U at home.
Lose.
Everton away.
Lose.
New Year's Day, Southampton away.
Lose.
Southampton away on New Year's Day. Now that is a journey, isn't it?
That's a horrible one, that, isn't it?
Oh, there'll be some states getting on the bus on the way to Southampton.
That Burnley game will be the big one, because that's the game we have to win going into them.
Yeah, and the game before that, Chippers, is Norwich at home. So those 2 games got to be
points. Right? We need 6 points. Simple as. Anything less, not good enough.
Wilson's the key, I think.
Do you think?
Sorry, go on, mate.
Sorry, guys. Do you think if we win arbitration, right, and if things don't pick up, do you really think PIF are going to hand 300 million quid over if we're staring relegation in the face? Not the chances are.
I think they will.
I think if we're right near the bottom, I think they go to Ashley and they say, yeah, let's do the deal, but we want a clause in there, and we want like 100 million off if we get relegated or something like that. And potentially that's when Ashley could pull the plug. Potentially. Yeah. And that's a worry. If we're near the relegation zone and say, we're only 3 points in or maybe a couple of points above, I don't think it's an issue. But if we're cut adrift with the likes of Norwich at the bottom and we're 4, 5, 6 points of getting out of the relegation zone, I think it's an issue. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, if we're not in the Premier League, the value of our club halves overnight, isn't it?
Yeah, they won't want to spend the season in the Championship. No chance.
Yeah, easily. It's not. That's just the one bit of hope, boys, isn't it? That January the 3rd arbitration. I hope all the fans, because obviously there's been a little bit of a division on social media, Twitter, etc. I just hope that January the 3rd date can give all the Newcastle fans a chance to unite and just try and get behind it for that one date.
I think you're right, Charlie, and I think the interesting thing was when the cat hearing was on, obviously the numbers 33,000 people that watched it live over 50 different countries. So it shows there's a massive public interest. But the one thing that did for a few hours, it did unite the fan base.
100%.
All of us were talking about the same thing. It was everyone wanted the same thing. Everyone was united in wanting the same result. Everyone was united in wanting things to go the right way. And the same will be for arbitration. But then you have some stuff, and I know kind of we're running close to time. I'm sure Daz will pull the plug shortly. But then you have Twitter has kind of reverted back to where it was pre the cat hearing, which is, we've had this poll done by the Trust that, in my opinion, was an absolute waste of time. That's just my view. You've had some fans who have made their opinions known about that maybe the Trust should do a bit more, and they've been called irrelevant by certain sections of the fan base. And all of a sudden we're back. There's factions, and everyone's back at the loggerheads again, and people are blocking and unblocking, and there's videos coming out, and there's bits and pieces, and it's just like, for me on Twitter, I have no interest at all with all that shite. I'd much rather spend my time doing an hour like this and chatting to you lads about the positives. And okay, it's Joelinton and everything else. It's great to hear those opinions, but I just you just kind of wonder. I think this hit of arbitration, and I know, and it is a very, very comment that people on the NUFC timeline and on Twitter only represent a very, very small portion of people in the fan base. But at the end of the day, we are all fans. And if the cat case and arbitration are the only hopes we've got of trying to unite each other, then it's a fucking sad, sad day, really, because we shouldn't need that to be as one. We shouldn't need to be reliant on a takeover and a court case for us to all be together against the main problem, which is the current manager and the ownership. That's the only thing we should be united against. We shouldn't be fighting amongst ourselves over stupid shit, whether who thinks is right or wrong. Just my opinion, for what it's worth. But
yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? When you actually see the poll results from the NUSTs, like the results of the poll itself. Very good. like the results were clear. Like it was like 95% plus. So like the Toon fans are sort of like-minded in a way when it comes to topics revolving Newcastle United. You know what I mean? So all the other stuff.
Was that graphic not a piece of Bruce cutting something out, apple pie out of the whole thing? That was like
could have been different.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
Lads, I think we'll wrap it up for the night. Just want to a few little bit of housekeeping before we leave. First of all, I want to say thanks for everyone for watching. Make sure you hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. And if you haven't already done so, if anyone new joining us tonight, welcome, and hit that subscribe button. And if you're ever looking for us again, we're on youtube.com/c/loadedhq. Also want to say we talked a lot about Bruce out. Now let's talk about Bruce in.
Yeah.
Call into Bruce in Central Station. He is all the alcohol you'll ever need.
And some.
Allegedly, I've never.
I've been in a few times. There is enough alcohol, yes.
And Julie's been there. I've seen pictures.
Julie's been in. Go on in. He's got some good stuff. Can I just say very quickly? For the channel, we're at 770 subscribers, right? Which is massive for 5 lads who are dads who do this for a bit of crack. We don't get paid. We do it when we can and when we have time, and we get people like Carl, Chips, and Charlie and others on. So we do really appreciate everybody that watches. There's 40 plus watching tonight, regulars coming on and off. But if between me, Daz, Chris, Pete, and Richie, there are thousands of crazy people that follow us. It would be fantastic if we could just convert another couple hundred of you that follow us to just hit that sub button, because if we can get to 1,000, we can change up YouTube. We can do a whole heap of stuff. So mine, Daz, and certainly Chris's wishes are to try and get to that 1,000 mark by Christmas. So for 5 dads that do this for the crack, if you could help us get to the 1,000, we would greatly appreciate it. So if you like what we do, hit the sub button, hit the like, and help us get to where we want to get to. We would be massively, massively appreciative if you can. So do the right thing, folks.
Last thing,
apart from Julie,
do the right thing.
Do the right
thing. Yeah, look, it is. Look, I've had. We chat about this, and we've all chatted. We came together off the back of matters, and we, me and Daz had this crazy idea about going off on our own and doing our thing. And I think even to see, the amount of followers we have on our own Twitter accounts, but then there's best parts of 1,000 following Loaded HQ1, and best parts of 800 people following us on this channel. It's crazy. But look, we want to keep it going and bring you shows like this. So by hitting that subscribe button, you help us out get to that point. So look, we do appreciate everybody that is watching us. So thanks very much.
Cheers, Mart. I think everyone feels sorry for us now. That's mission accomplished.
Somebody else's turn to beg next week, lads. I've done mine. All the Europe next week.
Do the right thing.
Do the right thing.
Do the right thing.
We are across the bottom next week. Just
Hashtag
one thing.
Do the right thing.
I watched this back over 2 days, our show from Friday night, and it was absolutely brilliant. You don't actually get to appreciate it when you're on the show much, but it was really good. Really enjoyed it, and I was laughing at my own jokes. But anyway,
it was me as a viewer. Obviously, as you know, I couldn't get on the night, but honestly, I was watching it as a viewer, and it was a fantastic. It was a fantastic show. It was really, really good. So anyone who hasn't watched it, get yourself on there. I'm not on it, which is a shame, but get yourself on there because the lad's done a great. He's done great without me. He's done great without me. Yeah,
it was well done, Daz. It was a great spoiler. Me and you.
Right, lad. Charlie, Chipper, and Carl, thanks a million for coming on.
Thanks for having me on, boys. Charles, having us on, lad.
Anytime, lads.
Good night, all.
Good night, everyone.
See you later.
Take it easy, boys. Thanks very much. Thanks for watching.